This is a weirdly long question. Based on the text, what role do fynbos roots most likely have in maintaining the border between the fynbos shrubland and the Afro-temperate forest habitats? Okay, so maintaining the border, right? So the roots, what do? Right? That maybe sometimes dumb summarize the question when it gets out of control so that you can kind of keep things organized as you read. So what does the fynbos do? How does it affect the border? I don't know. Let's see. The fynbos shrubland is a diverse habitat found only in South Africa. It is adjacent to the Afro-temperate forest with almost no transition space between the two distinct habitats. Plants in the fynbos have uniquely thin and long root systems that spread out over large distances to absorb nutrients from the soil. Okay, so, I don't know, thin, long, large distances. Ecologists transplanted tree seedlings from the forest into plots in the fynbos. Seedlings in plots isolated from the roots of fynbos plants exhibited a growth rate 5 times greater than that of the seedlings in plots in close proximity to the roots of the fynbos plant. So the roots matter, right? That's kind of the thing. So the roots matter, but that's kind of what they were saying in the question anyway. So something about the distances absorbing nutrients, maybe? I don't know. Let's see. The fynbos roots damage the root systems of forest plants, leaving those plants unable to acquire sufficient nutrients. That's pretty strong. I don't think they're saying that, right? I mean, maybe they do that, but I don't have any evidence of that in the passage, right? Damage is a very strong word. They're like attacking the other plant. I really need some evidence of that. So I don't love it, but I don't know. Maybe that's a leap I'm allowed to make, especially if everything else is wrong. So let's see. The fynbos roots extend close enough to the forest plant's roots that they constitute a physical barrier that forest plants' roots cannot pass. Again, I feel like this is a little bit weaker, but that's literally saying there's like a wall of roots and the other roots can't get through them. The only thing I get here is nutrients. So A is a little closer because it talks about nutrients, but it has them being attacked. So I think B is just wrong. It doesn't say anything about nutrients, so I'm getting rid of that. C, the root systems of fynbos plants allow the plants to take in so many soil nutrients that forest plants are prevented from flourishing in the fynbos. Yeah, so notice that is saying kind of the same thing as A. Right, it's about the nutrients. They're both trying to grab the nutrients. But A is much more aggressive, right? The roots are literally like attacking the other plants' roots, and then they can't get the nutrients. A much simpler explanation is just the roots of the fynbos are already absorbing the nutrients. So they're taking it up, right? They don't need to be attacking the other ones. So I think C is just a weaker answer choice, right? It's easier to prove. It's easier to kind of justify. This idea of the damaging, that's so strong. That's such a specific claim. Let's look at D, though. The root systems of fynbos plants enhance the soil. Ooh, that's also kind of like the word damage, very strong. Enhance the soil immediately surrounding the plants, allowing them to thrive in an otherwise harsh habitat. No, see, like, you want the roots to do like the least amount of work possible is kind of what it is, right? So A is saying they're attacking the other plants. D is saying that they're making the soil better somehow. B is just saying like they're doing what roots do. They're absorbing nutrients, and because they're doing that, there's fewer nutrients for the other plants to thrive. So it doesn't need to work in any special way. It's just doing what roots do. So that feels the most obvious to me. And that's the thing is you don't need to know about plants to get this question right. This is purely like the word damage in A is very, very strong. You need something in the passage to point to and say, here is evidence that they're damaging the roots. D, same thing, enhancing the soil, very strong. You need to be able to point to something in the passage and say, here they are enhancing the soil. They're absorbing nutrients from the soil, right? That doesn't mean they're making soil better. They're just absorbing the nutrients. That's all we've got. And so take in is the same as absorb. There you go. I can point to the passage and say, that's the reason for C. But overall, I mean, like I said, C is weaker. It's just roots doing what roots do. A and D are both kind of making these roots like super aggressive and like powerful. And why? Why do that? Whenever you're down to multiple answers, pick the one that's like the most like simple, right? That's basically what it is. Pick the one that has the least complicated story involved in order to make it work. It would be really weird for these plants to be that powerful and amazing. So yeah, don't make them that way. C works without having to make special super plants. Like it doesn't need to be complicated. It's not unreasonable for A and D to be right, but like C is sitting there, right there. It's much easier. So pick the easier choice to justify.